if you know everything about content management, like maybe Jake Dohm does because he's building his own CMS. But if you know a lot, then you can take all of these things into consideration.
Right.
But you can leverage a good CMS to kind of give you all the things that you might not even have, thought about. I've seen also projects where, for example, Django admin has been used as a CMS. So basically they had just an admin panel and they were like, okay, this is the CMS because we have this nice admin panel for all the configuration and content for the application. So it probably works also for the content management parts.
Right.
And I would say that like the end result is far from perfect. And maybe we could discuss what makes a good CMS different from a basic admin panel. Like what are the features that it should have, or like the things that differentiate it?
Yeah, that's a great question. And one thing I want to address that you just brought up is, with the Django comparison there, let's talk about what isn't a CMS. Rails is not a CMS with Ruby. Laravel is not a CMS. Django is not a CMS. So even though these like frameworks built on top of a language to help you manage your content or really manage your database in a structured way, that gets you part of the way to a CMS, but that's not a CMS, right? So there are CMSs built on top of all of those platforms, right? So in the Laravel world, you have Statamic, which is a CMS built on top of Laravel, which gives you all of the author experience benefits on top of the amazing framework that really takes care of your database management and that type stuff. So that's a great point that like just because you have a place to store your data and a way to store your data doesn't mean you're 80% of the way to having a content management system. There's a ton that goes into that. So for what makes a great CMS, I would put author experience at the top of that list. How easy is it for clients to create and manage the content that they want to? And there's a lot of different things that go into that. There's different types of field types. You need your basic field types, plain text, rich text, image support. But then within each of those, different vectors of content management, there's really, really nice things to have. And if you've ever worked in a CMS that you really like and then tried to work in one that's a little bit missing some of those functionalities, so it's really frustrating because it's hard for me to even think about what makes a CMS good, because I really like Craft a lot, the one that we use, and I've worked with some other ones that I really like. But dropping down to a more basic CMS or a CMS that isn't as professional is kind of frustrating because you just expect some things to work. So for example, like Craft CMS has an image field, super awesome, right? You should upload images. That's a given for most content sites, is there's going to be images and assets, but they have this thing called a focal point on the image where you can set a dot on the focal point so that when you transform the image, they also have image transforms built in, so that on your front end, you're not just rendering out a 5,000 pixel image, but it'll actually automatically crop it down to the right size, and it'll use the focal point. So if I set the focal point here on the image, on the top left, it'll actually crop that image to the top left if it has to crop out part of the image, or it helps with the scaling. So there's a lot of things like that you need to look at from an author experience perspective to make sure that it will, one, serve your, and that's a good example there where the author experience is really easy, right? You upload an image and you pick a focal point, and then that's all the authors have to think about. But for your front end users, you get all this functionality of image transforms, you get that automatically cropping to the right point. So hopefully it looks the best it possibly can on both mobile and desktop. So that blend of author experience and developer experience, and then your end user experience, is to me what makes a CMS great. And there's a lot of things that go into that, right? There's the actual admin panel that your content editors are working within and the functionality that it has and the features that it has. But then to also serve your front end users well, you want to be working in an ecosystem on top of a language that makes sense to you for like your templating. So maybe you love React and you might want to go with like a headless CMS, something like a Sanity or a Contentful that will let you work with React. So that's, that one doesn't as much affect your front end templating, but you still want to pick something that pairs well with your front end templating. And, there's trade-offs with each one. Craft has a templating language called Twig that you use, and that's built on top of PHP. Maybe you're not a PHP guy, you don't like PHP, no one at your company knows PHP, so that might not be the best CMS for you to go with. Maybe you guys are a Rails shop, maybe you're a different vector of web development. So you want to pick something that makes sense for your author experience and then also makes sense for everything else that you have to do to build out a website, and pair those well to have the best experience of actually being able to create a cohesive product that works for your dev team, works for whoever your end user is of the content, and whoever your content authors are.
Yeah, I think those the devil is always in the details, and when it comes to content management, there are like these very small things that you would kind of, when you are not familiar with content management, you just don't realize that you need them.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, like image focal points, you would it sounds like from the perspective of a person who hasn't worked with content management, they might just not really care like in the beginning of the project, but when they come to the point that they actually realize that they need to support like maybe 6 different sizes from the pictures, maybe they need to have it as a square on the mobile version, and they need it as a widescreen picture on the desktop, and then the pictures end up having just the chest of the person, like these very normal things in the content management world, but not very normal things when you are developing a CRUD application where you're not really concerned 100% with just maybe the image handling. You might when it comes to doing like marketing pages, you might be able to hand crop stuff. But when you're doing content management, like all of these features need to be in the content management system.
Right.
And other kind of these small details that, you'd miss maybe. I feel that CEO is one of them. I worked with WordPress for around 5 years professionally. And then I had gotten used to the fact that I can just install a plugin. It gives me all the fields. It gives me, the box for the author in the admin panel where they can actually see what the snippet might look like. So they have kind of this control over okay, what should I write here? And then they get direct visual feedback. Mm-hmm. And then I started working on a project with Contentful, and it has no inbuilt CEO support. So you need to kind of know everything. And I think that's a big difference. If you know everything about content management, maybe Jake Dohm does because he's building his own CMS. But if you know a lot, then you can take all of these things into consideration. But you can leverage a good CMS to kind of give you all the things that you might not even have thought about, because it has these features built in. And also, I think image handling, as you said, in general, just the fact that you need to be able to crop pictures, you might need to be able to do some small transformations on them.
Yep.
Of course, you can always take something like Cloudinary and build your, use a smart CDN to serve your images, but you end up complicating the stack a lot. And this is where for example, Contentful shines. It has a really good API.